Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Grace Lauren Taylor, and you are listening to episode 65 of the Trauma Dump Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Here at the Trauma Dump Podcast, we seek to answer the question, what is mental health? How do I take care of my own, and how do I support others? This week, we will be discussing the topic of sexual assault when it pertains to men, because men do get assaulted too. Our very special guest of the week is Kyle. You can go follow him over on TikTok. It is at Kyle Won't Run a Mile. That is KYLEWONTRUNAMILE. Remember, if you'd like to share on the show, please message us in our Discord and the podcast participants channel along with your unique experiences, and we will match you to the right episode. And just a quick disclaimer before we start. I am not a licensed health professional. This podcast only seeks to create community and further understanding of these topics that are so often overlooked and extremely misunderstood. If you or a loved one are in need of medical professional help, we have resources in our descriptions. The topics discussed here are for a mature audience, so viewer discretion is always advised. At the top of the episode, I'm going to give a quick resource that everybody should know. It is the Domestic Abuse Hotline, which is 1-800-799-7233 or 1-800-799-SAFE. You can also use the text number that is 1-800-787-3224. They are an amazing resource. The hotline provides free and confidential services without regard to race, color, national origin, religion, gender, age, or disability, including deaf or hard of hearing. Assistance is available in English and Spanish with access to more than 170 languages through the telephonetic interpreter services. If you are in immediate danger, please don't hesitate to call 911, okay? Your life is worth living, and if someone is trying to hurt you, they need to be stopped. Please call 911 in any emergency circumstances. Domestic abuse, also known as domestic violence or family abuse, is a pattern of behavior that is used to hurt, terrorize, or gain control over another person. Domestic abuse may be perpetrated by any member of the household, such as an intimate partner, parent, child, sibling, relative, or even staff members. When domestic abuse is perpetrated by an intimate partner, it is referred to as intimate partner violence. We're going to be talking about all aspects of sexual abuse, especially when it pertains to sexual abuse happening to a man, because our guest this week is a young man who is going to be talking about his experiences. So please, trigger warning going forward in this episode. If you ever feel uncomfortable or if you're feeling like you really relate to this subject, this topic, this horrible experience that our guest has gone through, please take care of yourself. Drink some water, take some deep breathing, and maybe tune out of this episode. Maybe come back for one of our next episodes or watch a different episode. You know, I don't want to ever hurt my audience, but I also think it's very, very important to talk about these subjects because that's what ends the stigma around these subjects. This is, yes, a taboo subject, but it's an important subject to discuss because a lot of the times when we think about sexual violence, we think about women. It isn't just women. Women aren't the only victims of sexual violence. Everyone, and I mean everyone, can be a victim of sexual violence, okay? Another resource at the top of the episode is our Discord server. It's anonymous, it's free, it's pure support. So if you ever need anybody to talk to, there's always going to be someone on our Discord server, okay? The link is in the description. Please, if you feel compelled to, like this episode, subscribe to the show, share this episode with your friends, and comment down below what episodes you will be looking forward to in this podcast. Please take care of yourself while watching this episode, listening to this episode, and I will get into this interview now. Hi, Kyle. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I was mentioning before that I love your background, Halloween. It's very vibes.
Oh, this is up all year round.
I feel that. I always wait for all the Halloween stuff to be on discount, at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, and then
Yep.
I go and buy my regular stuff for my house.
Yep.
It's just how it goes. I will go in and just peek. Okay. $40. I'll come back when you're $7.
I'll come back November 1st. Yeah.
Exactly. So today we're going to be talking about sexual abuse. So for those of you guys listening, trigger warning, we're going to be discussing a lot of pretty horrible, honestly, horrible topics. If you guys ever feel agitated or activated, I should say, please take care of yourself and maybe not watch the rest of this episode. Maybe click on a different episode, but don't forget to follow Kyle over on TikTok. It is at Kyle won't run a mile. Okay, so please go follow him and support him for being on this episode. So now that we got that little disclaimer out of the way, are you comfortable with discussing your personal experiences?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay, awesome. To make sure that I'm not crossing any of your boundaries and respecting your experiences, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. We can also take a break at any time if we just need to get some water, go to the restroom. And if you don't feel like answering a question, please let me know. I will skip it. My priority is to make sure that you feel safe at all times when discussing very traumatic things.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. So, we're talking about sexual abuse. My first question would be, when is your earliest memory of sexual abuse?
I was 15 when I was raped by someone who I trusted. I considered them a very good friend. Um, and I still remember the exact date because it was Valentine's Day. So, um, but yeah, it was just an ordinary day. Went to school, um, had cheer practice, and then came home, and then yeah, it was just a normal day. I didn't think anything of it. Nothing was out of the ordinary. He wasn't acting weird towards me, and then he was also my brother's friend. So my parents were actually down in Texas looking for houses because we were about to move. And my parents were like, don't have anyone over, like, no one at the house. But my brother invited this huge group of people to the house and everything. And he was one of them. And I was in my room all night. And next thing I know, he is like knocking on my door. He comes in, we just start chatting. And then he asked me to like give him oral sex. And at that point in my life, I hadn't I hadn't done anything with a boy before. I've kissed boys, but I hadn't done anything very sexual or anything like that. And I was like, okay, I guess, like, I don't know, like, I trust you. I didn't know like you liked me that way because that was like my first initial thought. And I was like, oh, he likes me, whatever. And then I I only do it for around like 5 minutes because then I started to get really uncomfortable. And um, then he asked me, he was like, "Hey, let's let's go all the way." And I was like, no, like I really don't want to. Like I haven't done anything like that before, and I don't think I'm ready for it. And I stand up to like leave my room, and he just grabs me by the wrist, and then the next thing I know, I'm my face is being pushed into a pillow, and there's nothing I can do.
I just want to first acknowledge how horrible that is in your own room with someone that you thought was a safe person to take advantage of you in that way and force themselves onto you. I'm tremendously sorry that you experienced that. That's horrible. That's really horrible. Did you tell anybody it happened?
Um, Not at first, because after everything happened that night, he like looked at me straight in the face and he's like, if you tell anyone, I'll kill you. Like, and I was like, okay, so I won't I won't say anything. And it just felt weird to like be in a house full of people and like that happening and like nobody knowing. And I think I kept quiet for I think it was either 3 or 4 months. And then somebody we had it was like a mutual connection I had with someone between him, and they texted me and they were like, hey, there's something I need to tell you about. And I was like, okay. And they had shared an experience with it was like the same experience they had with the same person. They were also assaulted. And they just confided in me with everything. And then I finally got the courage to tell them that the same thing happened to me. And then the next thing I know, um, my dad gets a call from a detective saying that this girl had mentioned me in her report and that I was just a name that was brought up. And my parents were wondering, like, why were you talking to her about this? Like, is she okay? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm standing in the kitchen and my dad's on the phone with my mom, and my mom's looking at me, and my brother's in the kitchen as well. And I just start crying. And my mom's like, what's wrong? Like, please, what's wrong? And I said, she came to me about it because the same thing happened to me. And then um, that just started like a whole investigation. And I had to talk to these detectives, and it was like police coming over to the house. And because it actually turned out to be a very, very big case. And to make a long story short, nothing came out of it. He walked scot free. You know, there was not enough physical evidence, so nothing happened.
That's bullshit. Oh, I'm tearing up. That's so bullshit. And to get kind of outed in front of your parents is just like,
Yeah, it was to see the like look on my mom's face and like to tell her that her youngest son was raped. And like it was just like I I just thought that she would be mad at me that I didn't tell her sooner, but she just she just started crying and she's like, I can't believe that happened to you. I'm so sorry. And my dad was in Texas, so he couldn't be there, but he came up soon just so that he could be there through the whole process of getting everything done with the police and everything. So it was nice to have them as a very healthy support system.
that is that is a beautiful thing that your father was there for you and so was your mom. I mean,
Mhm.
again, that's devastating to happen so young, 15 years old, and like be so afraid. of saying anything because you're afraid of repercussions because like, in the media, you see people, especially young men who are victims and they feel like they can't talk about it. And so they don't talk about it in our media. And so it sets a precedent for young men and boys that they shouldn't talk about it because it makes them less than.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Um, a quick resource for any of you guys if you or a loved one have experienced any form of sexual assault or abuse. The Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, RAINN, um, they are an amazing resource. Their phone number is 1-800-656-4673. Please contact them if you're in need of help. The hotline is open to call or text 24/7. Again, the number is 1-800-656-4673. Um, a lot of people don't comprehend, the impact of sexual abuse after it has happened and how it can really, not only shake your foundation of trust, but also your feeling of safety within your own body. Um, After this incident took place, um, what were some ways that you started to cope?
Um, I it took me like just like 2 or 3 days to like actually just be like, okay, so that actually happened. Like I think I like blacked out like mentally for like 2 or 3 days, and I finally came back to it. And I used to dance. Like I was a competitive dancer for 13 years. So um, when I went to dance class, that's kind of how I it made me not think about it. So dancing actually really helped, just made me feel okay to be in my body again. And I mean, I hated just like looking at myself in the mirror after all that happened. But, when you're in a dance class, you always have like that wall of mirrors. So I was forced to look at my body. But um, dancing and like being on the stage, it made me be able to cope with looking at my body and moving in my body as well.
I can relate on so many levels to your story. Um, and when I was 15, I was raped in my church by a guy that I think I was freshman in high school. He was a senior in high school in the men's bathroom. And the lady that saved me was not a janitor, but she was just like, I don't know if she was security personnel, something like that. Um, but she would like go and bang on the stalls and like she saw me and she got me out of there. But I wish she would have helped me more. She didn't. Um, but I'm very grateful. And I didn't tell anybody because I was raised in like purity culture, like
Yep.
you're not allowed to talk about that. Um, it makes you less than, like legitimately. And so I didn't tell my parents. Um, and it just kept eating away at me that I was, how could I have put myself in that situation, which, I did nothing wrong as a child. Um, you were a child, we did nothing wrong. Um, but I got very, very suicidal and I tried to kill myself. And my friends called the police, and it was the police that showed up at my house that my mom recognized what was going on. And I'm glad your parents embraced you because my parents didn't. They disowned me. I
I'm
was
so
forced,
sorry.
yeah, me too. I was forced to go live with my grandparents because they said that I was of the devil. and committed sinful deeds, whatever. And, it gives me a lot of the one thing that really helped me like cope with it was music
Mm,
and writing and essentially like making sure I had all the facts. Like I wanted my parents to press charges. They never did. Um, it just never happened. I think my dad threatened the dude, but I don't know. Um, but the same week that I was assaulted, my parents' business burned down. So I also, it was just an unfortunate event after unfortunate event. And from my mom's perspective, I just betrayed her. It wasn't that I was suffering. She just saw me as a betrayer of her.
mhm.
And it's very, very devastating. I don't speak to her anymore. Um, I love my dad, but he has passed away like 2 years ago. And thinking on like how your mother wept and wanted to like immediately apologize to you and wanted to hold you. I really wish that would have happened to me because I feel like that would have made all the difference. But instead, I was told that I was dirty and unclean. And so I really had to do a lot of inner work of redefining what sex was for me and also my own autonomy because I went to college and I have theater degrees. And I remember those giant freaking mirrors.
They are so big for
Oh,
no reason.
they are so big. They are so big and they're everywhere. And I do remember one point in time because, I was dressed always modest growing up. And one point in time, I bought myself a leotard. And for one class, I just wore a leotard and tights, which is what everyone wore.
Mhm.
But one of my classmates pointed out, she was like, I'm so proud of you. I was like, why? She's like, well, like you can actually see your full body now. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're always in baggy clothes and we never say anything because, you know, it can like mess up your spins in your turnout. But now you're able to fully see what you can do as you articulate with your body. And she wasn't mentioning how my body looked at all. She was mentioning, okay, this is the movement that we need to see you do. And in your baggy sweatpants, you can't actually do that movement. But they were never going to like criticize me because they knew I grew up really religious. And it was just so freeing to actually use my body. I'm not a good dancer at all, but I was so much more freeing and less hot, let me tell you, because there's not enough AC for the life any dance studio. But it really did help. I really resonate with how movement really did help and like reclaiming my body as my own
Mhm.
helped so much.
Yeah.
It really does. The CDC says only 1 in 4 men and 1 in 3 women actually report having experienced physical sexual violence, but these numbers are probably a lot lower than the actual number of victims out there because sexual abuse is extremely underreported. And these numbers only include one of the 5 types of sexual abuse, which is physical sexual violence. There are many different types of sexual abuse, but the 5 main types are verbal, visual, covert, ritualistic, and physical. Verbal sexual abuse includes the use of spoken or written words to express, evoke, or imply sexual content. Examples of verbal sexual abuse include sexual jokes, teasing about physical characteristics, graphic sexual descriptions, name calling, comments on physical development, solicitation, unwanted romantic advances, sexting, and stalking with phone calls and other messages, etc. Have you ever experienced verbal sexual abuse?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Being a adolescent gay boy, Um, I was not proud to say it, but like I was 16 and I downloaded Grinder, and I just put like a photo of like my face, and like all these like older men just like messaged me, and they were just like talking about how they thought my body looked, and what they wanted to do, and they were just like, "Oh, I bet you look like this under all those clothes," or "I bet you taste like this." And I'm like, "Okay, so clearly this is not the app for me." But even like if you're not on any of those kind of apps, it's like I still experience that stuff like in real life. Like recently too, like I was just out in Houston with a couple of my friends for our friend's birthday, and this guy walked up to me at the club, or we were just at like this bar, and he like grabbed my ass, and he was just like, "Oh, you feel so tight." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I was like, "I'm leaving this bar." And I like walked out, and I texted my friends, and I'm like, "I'm outside." Like I'm not yeah.
Why do people think that they have the right to touch? That's so many levels of harassment.
Yeah. Like I could see somebody that I'm physically attracted to, and I try to avoid making eye contact with them because it's like I was like it's like a slim chance, like a 1% chance I would even go up to you and say hi. But like I could never imagine just going up to somebody and just grabbing them unprovoked.
Hmm. Yeah. I would never either. I even have problem with towards my friends even touching them because I'm so afraid of touching them in a way that they don't like.
Mm,
Um, my fiance has autism, and so I have to be very careful about my levels of affection in general
mm,
because he can get really overstimulated or just not want to be touched. Like I'm just like, I love you so much, but like 5 feet.
yeah.
And that was a really big, you know, adjustment for me to make because after, the abuse that I suffered and then while in college when I started to differentiate and just block my mom entirely, I did become sexually active, but your bitch went to like the opposite end of the spectrum from like never having sex to having multiple partners all the time.
Yep.
And I feel like that is a universal experience for a lot of people who have, endured sexual abuse or any form of sexual trauma is that reclaiming of your body, maybe to an extent that you yourself are not actually comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I saw it also depicted in Baby Reindeer. Have you watched that series?
I had not, and I don't think I will, just because I have been warned about episode 5.
Hmm.
And I can understand why it bothers me so much about seeing those kind of scenes and depicted in film and TV, but it's not like I get grossed out or I get sad. Like I physically become angry about it. And I remember I watched this film. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a French film, but it's called Irreversible.
I have not, but I'll put it on my list.
It's that whole film feels like a fever dream. And there is a very sudden scene where an act of, I'm going to say, sexual violence happens. Um, and I just remember staring at my TV. I could feel my face getting hot. And I like turned off my TV. I like threw the clicker, and I'm like, I don't understand why it's like needed to be seen. But with Baby Reindeer, I understand because it was a very important part of the story, but there are a lot of film and TV shows that I feel like put those scenes in unnecessarily.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Um, I think Game of Thrones coined it as like sex position, like exposition through sex. And I'm glad the later seasons didn't have as much and
Mhm.
just actually had the story, which the story was amazing on its own. I've read all the books. Like I've read
Oh,
all
really?
of the Song of Ice and Fire books. Yes, I have.
That's
It
commitment.
is commitment. I love George R. R. Martin. I really do. I commend his writing style. It's beautiful. It's very eloquent. Um, but yeah, when watching the show, which I wasn't allowed to watch growing up, obviously, but when watching the show with some friends, immediately uncomfortable, and it almost felt like my eyes are being abused at some
Yeah.
points. I'm just like, why? I want to know what's happening in the story, but like, there's a difference between like a love making scene and then just jump cut orgy. Like, hmm, how does this further the plot? I don't feel like it does. A lot of it felt
Yeah.
really unnecessary. I mean,
Especially in the earlier seasons.
like visual sexual abuse is being exposed to unwanted sexual content visually. Um, if you guys have heard about the Colleen Ballinger, whatever bullshit, how she shared Trisha Paytas's nudes with minors, that is visual sexual abuse. And she is, in my very professional opinion, I think Colleen is an abuser and I think she should be in jail. Um, some other examples of visual sexual abuse include unwanted or uninvited exposure to sexual explicit images such as sexting or airdropping, expositionism, flashing, nudity, or improper dress, and even in like performing sexual acts while non-consenting individuals are present. Um, which brings me to something that I experienced in high school as a theater kid. Um, we had like a theater group chat because I've done professional theater since I was really little, like very, very little. And we had a group chat. I think I was around the age of 14 or 15, but this was like before I was raped. Um, I was in a really big show. Um, and I was just in the group chat with everybody, and everybody was sending memes, right? And this guy out of the blue sends like furry porn, like like really graphic furry porn, like at least 15 images, just drops them into the chat, and I immediately leave. I was like, what the fuck? And then he texts me and sends me the same images again. And I was so appalled by that behavior that I went to our director and showed the director. I was like, just thought you should know this 25-year-old is sending this and I'm 15. And that guy got taken out of the show.
That
Yep.
is, by the way, I know my last name is Furrier. I'm not a furry. Um, it's an Armenian last name.
I love that though. It's
But
cute.
thank you. I had a lot of similar experiences where it was like older men just trying to be funny, like are sending memes with like I remember getting a meme from someone one time when I was in high school. They were a senior and I think I was a freshman. And it was a photo of a woman and she was topless and she was covered in seminal fluid. And it was just like I don't remember what the caption was. I think I had to do something about a glazed donut, but it was just like he it was like him and different people were just sending around these like very explicit memes and I was like I don't understand the point. I don't understand like what you find funny about it. I personally just found it disgusting.
Yeah. It is gross. Yeah, I don't comprehend why stuff like that exists and why they feel the need to show it to someone who they know wouldn't want to see it.
Hmm.
Like for my experience, it felt very deliberate, extremely deliberate. And I confronted him too. He was like, "What is the big deal? It's not even real. It's cartoons." I was just like, "You what is wrong with you?" I literally asked him, I was like, "What is wrong with you?" Genuinely, I'm concerned for you as a person, as an individual, that you would send stuff like that. I was like, "Do you not know how old I am?" He's like, "I don't know, probably 18." I'm like, "No, I'm 15. I'm the youngest cast member." I am the youngest cast member. He's like, "Why are you working with us 20 hours a day?" Because I was like, "I have no life. That's why. I have no life. I'm the youngest cast member. Please." And you already know that I'm younger than you. Like he's 25. He thought I was like 18. Why would you send that to me, period?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just bullshit. It was really bullshit. It was really, really bullshit. And it makes me frustrated because I know middle school boys get sent pictures like that, sexual images all the time by other middle school boys because my brothers told me about it one day. And they were very distressed about it because I remember a guy friend told me, he's like, "I feel like it's a rite of passage to suddenly randomly get nudes from your homie of another girl." And I'm like, "Excuse me?
Somebody told me the exact same thing. A rite of passage.
Pardon? No, it's not. What?" Or like say that I'm very much against, sexting. But when I was in middle school, Snapchat was like everything to a bunch of kids. Like, "Oh, your Snap score? What's your Snap score?" It was everything to a bunch of kids. And this one girl sent a picture of, I don't think she was like topless per se, but she was in her bra. And she sent it to who I think was her boyfriend at the time, but I'm not certain. Um, and he just like opened it in the locker room and started sharing it with all his friends. And his friend he didn't take like the guy didn't take a screenshot, but his friend took a picture of the screen and then sent it to a bunch of people. And this poor freaking girl's stuff, I'm glad that she didn't show anything else, but she got called into the principal's office and she got in trouble. Not the boys. She got in trouble for sending it like inappropriate images. And it was a Christian school too. So it was
Oh,
like, it's so backwards the way that our society views these things. And it makes me so frustrated. Covert sexual abuse can happen without your knowledge. It includes being observed, followed, photographed, social media stalking, sexual, cyber harassment. It's a form of abuse that's characterized by attempts by the perpetrator to get some form of sexual satisfaction from the victim without their knowledge. Um, it happens all the time. It really does. And it happened to me recently. Like, one of my good friends got followed by like, I think he's like a porn star, like he's an actual kind of prolific porn star, and he liked my friend and he started following her, and she was just like egging him on, which I think was very dumb of her, but you do you, honey. And then he started looking at her tagged photos and he saw that she was with me all the time. So then he started messaging me and putting comments on my posts. calling me hot and stuff like that. And I sent screenshots to her and I was like, who is this person? I see you're following him. Who is this person? Like, why is this person? I don't know who this person is. It made me want to private my account, but I'm a public figure for the podcast, so I don't want to private my account. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He's so gross. I was just having fun." I was like, "Okay, well, why is he messaging me?
Hmm.
Why me?" She was like, "I'll remove you from tagged photos." It's like, that's not the point. Why is he messaging me? Can you tell him to stop, please? Because I'm not going to confront this random dude that I do not know. It was just so bullshit. That's so weird. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Have you experienced any covert sexual abuse?
Um, Not that like I can think of, because ever since I downloaded social media, so like Instagram and Snapchat, I always set my account to private on Instagram. Um, I do have a public hair page since I am a hairstylist, and like, but that's public, but that's just work related. But like my private Instagram is private, and I only will add people back on Snapchat if I know I gave them my username. That's the only way I'll do it. Um, but yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I've been um yeah, like stalked or followed, like thankfully.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad that you have not experienced that because it's not fun.
I can only imagine like how creepy it must feel.
Yeah. Because he was like messaging like posts that I had like 5 years ago. Why are you
Oh,
scrolling to when I was a minor,
yeah.
sir?
It's like they can sniff it in the air.
I don't know. I don't understand. Have you seen the story? I think her name is Jillian. Um, it's a French story that's going on where her husband drugged her and basically like solicited her like drugged body to over 72 men.
I just saw that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That made me have the biggest pit in my stomach, and my first thought was, I was like, clearly he didn't love you at all. And I felt the most immense amount of pain and sorrow for her. And it just made me feel, it made my skin crawl.
mhm. Yeah, it makes my skin crawl as well. Her name is Giselle. His name is Dominique. Um, he let 72 men rape his unconscious wife for a period of 10 years. And he also has like pictures of child porn and then like so many random pictures of his daughter and his son's wives whenever they like came to stay at their house. Like he has pictures of them in states of undress as well. So he didn't just abuse his wife, he abused the entire family. And that's just horrific. And he's only facing up to 20 years in prison. Like for me,
He should be
if,
executed.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I cannot fathom. I get that he's like 70 years old. He needs to get murdered in the
Mhm.
worst way possible. Like, yes, so we don't condone violence. Yes, I do. I condone violence against people that have committed like heinous, violent crimes. Like, I cannot fathom the amount of evil that it takes for a person to commit such atrocities against their own family. He has like pictures of his daughter nude, and he drugged his own daughter and put her in lingerie. We don't know if he actually sexually abused his daughter. Pretty sure he probably did.
Mm-hmm.
That is sexual abuse as well, to touch an unconscious naked body without someone's consent. That is abuse. But as far as like physical sexual abuse, they don't know. I hope that she wasn't, but that is abhorrent behavior. And I can't fathom the evil that it takes to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ritualistic sexual abuse is sexual abuse blended with some form of spirituality and ritual. In most cases, ritual sexual abuse perpetrators encourage or attempt to justify their action as an act of penitence or worship to the target of their abuse. This type of abuse can also include child marriage, incest rituals, genital mutilation, and chants or incantations during abuse. And I do think what he did, counts as
Mm-hmm.
ritualistic abuse, because in every interview he talks about how much he loves his wife, how he worships his wife. His wife is the best thing that ever. It's just like, uh, it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm glad it has come to light, though. I am so glad that it has come to light that he got caught because he was at a supermarket taking upskirt pictures of young women, and they reported it to the police, and then the police found the stuff on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And now, his wife is safe now. That's just, I'm glad that she's safe. I can't imagine the mental anguish. I I really hope she feels justice. I don't think there will be enough justice, from what it's the court standing right now. But at least the men were all videoed that hurt her, and they're all on trial as well. That's the one thing I can like, feel some form of like, okay. But every single guy is like, oh, I didn't know she wasn't consenting. I thought this was marriage play. I'm like,
She was drugged and most likely unconscious.
she was unconscious the entire time. She doesn't remember any of it happening to her. Let's express what consent is for those of us at home. Hello. Hi. Consent is verbal agreement of an act. Okay? Verbal, not like a nod. You need a verbal agreement. Okay? And consent can be taken away at any point in time. Any point in time. That was something that I had to argue with one of my guy friends about. Like, I had one of my first ever episodes for the podcast was actually about sexual abuse. And this young woman was talking about how, she first consented to having sex with her partner, and then it was getting too rough. And so she revoked consent, and he kept going. And we're like, yeah, that's rape. And who is not my friend anymore, the guy watched it and he was like, I don't think that that's rape. I'm like, yes, it is. You can take away consent at any time. And he and I argued about it. And I was like, well, we're not going to come to a conclusion. And I no longer feel safe around you ever. So goodbye. I hope you get help, but you're not my problem. Like, consent can be taken away at any point in time. Um, and you can say, yes, I want to do this type of thing, but I don't want to do that type of thing. And if someone does that type of thing that you've expressly said you do not want, that is abuse. um, and you do not have to be around that person ever again. Please if you have been abused by a person before, take that as that's who that person is. That's something that I've had to tell myself before, where I was like, oh, I just think that I've been sexually assaulted by women and men. One girl, I thought she was my girlfriend. And I was like, oh, she's probably just having like a really bad day. That's why she choked me. And I told her not to. Like, she's probably having like a really bad day. Um, Maybe I'll just like try to talk to her about it, just not do it again. And she was like, oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. And then she did it again. And I was like, oh, she says she's sorry. I Maybe we can work through it. No, bitch, you can't work through it. If they have done something to harm you multiple times, don't let them have to show you who they are again. They've already shown you. I'm not saying that people can't change. We are all capable of change, but change away from me.
Far, far away.
Far, far away from me. Mm. Once you reckoned with the abuse that you endured, you were speaking about how a young lady also was abused by the same perpetrator. Um, did you guys ever reconnect and talk about your experiences after the lawsuit, or the thing didn't
Um,
follow through?
well, we never met in person because she didn't live in I don't think she lived in the same state because I was in Connecticut at the time. And I think she was in Massachusetts. And, being a 15-year-old high schooler, I don't have a car. I don't. So it was kind of hard to like meet in person, but we were always Snapchatting. And then I get a text from her one day, um, saying that 5 other people had come forward as well.
Mm.
So in total, there was 7 people that this man had raped. And it also had come to light that thankfully and luckily, I was the only one he did not drug.
Oh my God.
So all the other women were unfortunately drugged and they were not conscious for what happened. And um, in the middle of like the whole investigation going on and everything, I had moved to Texas, but we were still in contact with the detectives and everything. And then I get a text from the girl and she's like, "Are you free to chat?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she calls me and she explains to me that since there had not been enough physical evidence and not many people were willing to testify, they just dropped everything. And um, unfortunately, I have not talked to her since that news, just because life has, gotten hectic and um, I just haven't been able to talk to her. And but I hope for the life of me that her and everyone else that had been involved in that case has gotten better and is able to see the world through a brighter lens now after everything that happened because it took a while for me, um, especially during around the time of year where it happened. Since it was on Valentine's Day, it's just that date is stuck in my head. And for like 3 years, I would go into grocery stores and I would see the candy hearts and the teddy bears, and I was like, fuck. I was like, is it really that time already? And then I would just sulk for like a couple weeks and I would come back out of it. But it's taken a lot of strength. And I had recently been in a relationship at the beginning of this year. Um, and I told him why I don't like Valentine's Day and what happened to me. And he wanted to make sure I felt comfortable around that time of year. So he had actually come over to my house and he's like, I know you don't like it, but I got you some things for Valentine's Day. And he got me like my favorite ice cream, and he got it's kind of stupid, but he got me my favorite vape. but
That's not stupid
um
at all.
and then he also got me a red like Stanley, and
Oh my God.
he also bought me like a bunch of horror stickers to put on the Stanley, and he was just like, I just want to make you feel like you can wake up on Valentine's Day now and not have to think about that. And it was just really special to me. And um, yeah, so unfortunately, we're not together anymore, but I will always be so thankful towards him for making me feel actually loved on
Oh,
Valentine's Day.
that is so sweet. I don't want to cry. Ah, ah, ah. That's so beautiful. Love is real, guys. Sometimes it's a little hard to find.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I'm I'm glad that you had someone who desired to help you create positive memories around a date that has contributed to so much anguish. That is truly lovely.
Hmm.
Really, really it is. Um, my fiance has tried to do some things a little similar, um, but not necessarily the same. Um, my parents got married at the Dallas Arboretum, and I was like, the Dallas Arboretum, her and I have like a very complex relationship, okay? Because every year on my parents' anniversary, including all of the holidays, every holiday, we would go to the Dallas Arboretum and take family pictures. And the reason why I have such a complicated relationship because my mom studied to be a professional photographer for a very long time. So I was very often her muse, me and my siblings. And she had, let's just be honest, failed photography career, which is fine because the rise of, the digital cameras and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. But my fiance was like, I know you have some good memories there and also some really bad memories. Would you like to go on a date there? And this was one of our first dates. He's like, there's just, I don't know, there's really cool Christmas stuff out there. And I thought it would be really cute, but I understand if it's like too much. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. And that was like one of the sweetest dates we ever went on. And I was like, I've seen all of this before. And he's like, I understand. I was like, do you want to know what most people never see? He's like, what? I was like, well, there's a little area of the Arboretum that's near White Rock Lake. And it was like really dark out at night. So there was like no lights to, I was just muscle memorying that shit. And I bring us to a bench and it's like pitch black dark. So we're like feeling the bench when we sat down. And we had the most insightful, deep conversations about different things that we've experienced because we were just started dating. And it really brought us a lot closer. And, I will always have a complicated relationship with the Arboretum, but at least I have some good memories that I made of my own free will, of my
Yeah.
own accord, and I was not forced. So that was like a good thing that happened with us, and it really helped me understand him as an individual and his little, Joeyisms, his little quirks. He's a good egg, but took a lot of bad eggs to find the one good egg.
I'm still going through the bad eggs.
Oh, I'm sorry, beloved. I genuinely am. When it came to dating after sexual abuse, could you tell us about that experience of trying to trust people again?
um, the thing is, it was like in my first serious relationship was like the boy I just talked about on Valentine's Day and all that. I had, like, oh, I dated this person for a week and I really, really liked them. Like, this is the one. And then they break up with me a week later. And then I was like, okay, whatever. And little did I know, like, deep down inside, like, those month-long relationships or those like situationships, and every single time they ended, it actually it made it so much harder to trust someone, to like actually like be honest with and be real with. And um it was just until that I met that person. um I we met on Tinder, and they lived in College Station, and then we had found out we had a mutual friend together, and then we were like, let's all hang out. And like ever since we hung out, it was just like we were inseparable, blah blah blah. But in the early stages of like moving to Texas and like um all that, I never dated. I unfortunately was just doing the pointless hookups and um just having sex with these random people just to like feel something and to feel wanted. And I'm like, those 35, sometimes 10-minute hookups are just like, they're not doing anything for you. And it took a while for me to realize that. And that's when I kind of like slowed down and I'm like, I'm not going to give my body to someone until I trust them. And it was just, it was hard at first to like be able to trust people in a serious relationship kind of way. And but I feel like I know what I want now 100%, and I now know what I'm worth. And if I see in the beginning that you don't respect me for who I am and all of that, then I'm not going to give you the time of day for anything.
That's beautiful. Look at you having some self-respect. Oh,
Finally.
I love that. Yeah, that's it. It's needed. It is really needed. Um, to be able to recognize your worth and that sex is an energy exchange, um, is beautiful. And I'm glad that you're like, I'm not off sex, but like I'm selective.
Yeah, I got my types. I know what I want in the bedroom and all that. And there I am kind of lucky that I don't want to call it a roster, but like I have a few people that I can text knowing what I like and how they should treat me. And they know that if I ever do text them, that it's because I do trust them and all that.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
What do you think of the saying, I transmute my pain into purpose?
I think, oh my gosh. I think it's a beautiful thing. Um, I don't know if I have done it, but with that TikTok that I posted, um, I never expected it to be that big. Um, I think right now it has like 3.4 million views, and um, like I posted it getting ready for work, and like I turned my phone off for an hour, and I like went to go shower, do everything, and I came back and had like 10,000 likes already, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it wasn't really till it started getting very popular. I had people DMing me, and they were like, I am wondering if I can talk to you about my experience, and people commenting their stories. And it just, it makes me feel like a better person to be able to just be able to listen to these people's stories and try to help them a little bit and help them feel seen, even if they haven't come forward to anyone else. And because I know how bad it hurts to not be able to tell anyone about something that has happened to you, and just being able to listen to these people's stories and um, just looking at the comments saying, even if they're complete strangers, being like, I'm so proud of you for telling your story. And they're just like, you're not alone, I promise. It was just a really beautiful thing to just have one singular, like 15-second video go viral and being able to reach all of these people and just letting people know that they're not alone when it comes to this type of stuff. And I wish, like, my biggest wish in life is to just be able to, like, I just want to help people feel seen and know that they're not alone and know that it's okay if you don't feel comfortable talking about it. Um, because it's a very hard thing to talk about. And um, it's just, I want people to know that they will be okay one day. It may take a long time, and it may take years or just a couple months or however long it takes for you to process something, but you will be okay at one point in time.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. You know, the podcast's purpose is to identify trauma, how we can help heal ourselves and others. And the saying of the podcast, even though it's kind of blurry right now, is trauma is not who you are, it's what you go through.
Mm-hmm.
Your trauma does not define you as a person, it is not your personality, but it does shape you in a way. And for me, how I transmute my pain into purpose is with this podcast. I was um scrolling through TikTok and I saw your video and I was like, I want him. I want him on the pod. No, 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 no. Like the way, I mean, I read a lot of your comments and you did respond to so many, and that instantly I was like, okay, beautiful. This person needs to be on my podcast and share their story because you have helped so many people already. You never know how many lives that you affect. You never know if you're the catalyst for someone else to go actually get help or go get
Mm-hmm.
therapy or recognize that, wait, I'm not the problem. What happened to me is the problem. Let me get help for it. Like, you never know how many lives that you affect with just existing, with just being your authentic self, with just being open and real and honest about what you've experienced and not allowing it to hinder you. You know, yes, it's going to
Yeah.
affect us. I'm not talking about not letting yourself feel, but not letting it hinder your personal progress towards what you want to do with your life. I think for so long, I let my trauma define me, that I was a traumatized person and that no one understood me and that I'd never have friends and I'd never be loved, that it wasn't worth being loved. And it took it took a lot of effort to work out of that. And something that really helped me was my service dog, Gigi. Like the way that she just loves me completely unconditionally, how she takes care of me. And of course, I take care of her, but she's saved my life so many times. And one person at the dog park, this was like probably 4 or 5 years ago, told me, is like, you must put so much love into this dog because this dog's aura is gold. I was like, what? Like, this dog has just like an abundance of just love. Like, I touch this dog and I feel like I'm just electrocuted with just love and empathy and that everything is going to be okay. It's like, you did a good job of raising this dog. I can see how much this dog trusts you to lay on its back and expose its belly at the dog park. And I thought about that and I was like, yeah, I did do a good job. Yeah, I am a good person. My dog thinks I'm a good person. And it then that kind of spiraled into me actually taking care of myself because I noticed that my dog wouldn't eat if I didn't eat. I could give her beef. She wouldn't fucking put anything in her mouth unless I ate something as well. And that love that I was shown from, my animal that I feel like I can speak to telepathically, and I'm not going to take any of your bitches comments and like, no, that doesn't exist. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
It does. She talks to me all the time. Okay, I'm not schizophrenic.
I
She
used to
talks.
do it with my hamster.
Oh my goodness. She's saved my life. And she has really kept me safe, not just physically, but emotionally. And I genuinely don't know where I'd be without her. By the time this episode airs, her birthday will be in 2 days. So
Um,
this is just like shout out to my Gigi Ouija Wong. She's like on the floor. Here, I'll just pan over. I know the camera turned off, but it'll turn back on. Bloop. There she is.
oh my
Gigi.
goodness.
She has pink tail. She says hello. Hello, audience.
She is gorgeous.
She's a good old lady, baby. She's gonna be 8. You're gonna be 8? She goes, I'm gonna be 8.
Yellow lab?
She's a golden retriever, but I cut her hair.
Golden retriever, okay.
Yep. I'm turning the camera back to myself. But yeah, she's genuinely like the best dog that has ever existed on the planet. Could not ask for better. And I dye her tail pink. It's a vibe.
It's a
Such a
vibe.
vibe. It is such a vibe. And she graduated college with me. Like everybody on Texas Tech campus knew who Gigi was, which was kind of crazy. Oh, the camera. There it goes. Ah. Everybody knew who Gigi was. And that was also such a big point of pride for me that I had like the best service dog on campus.
Hmm.
I really did. Mine had a pink tail. Get fucked everybody else. Like genuinely. Oh my goodness. How is your daily routine? So speaking on like what you've gone through right now, how has your daily routine changed now that that video has gone viral and you said people are reaching out to you? Do you still actively respond?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's crazy because every single time I go on TikTok, which is every day, um, I will still have like 20 new likes and like new messages. And I try to respond to comments and stuff almost every single day because um, it makes me feel good just to let them know that like I see them and I hope that they know that um I like thank them so much just for even like leaving just like a nice little comment saying I see you. Like I don't think they understand how much that actually does mean. And it's funny though because I knew there were going to be trolls in the comments and everything like that. Um I didn't expect so many. And it was just it would be like comments saying like why didn't you fight back, why didn't you just leave the room, men can't get raped. And I was like, you know what, I don't even have to respond to these comments because there are 30 or 40 other people responding to them for me. And I was like, I also didn't expect so many people to have my back. Like because they don't know me, they just um, see a video that I posted, but they want to make sure that they know, or that I know that they have my back and they will fight for me. And so I don't think I ever responded to like one troll comment on that video because so many other people have. And I actually, funny enough, like I think I was at, where was I? I was either at the Woodlands Mall in Texas or I was either at the Galleria. I actually did get recognized by someone.
That's crazy.
And I was like, compared to what I look like in that video to what I look like now, I was like, it's kind of crazy that you recognize me. But they were just like, um, I saw your TikTok like a couple months ago, and I just wanted to say that because of you, I was able to come out and tell my story. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. um, but it just feels so nice to be able to know that I have at least helped a couple people
Mm,
come forward and tell their story as well.
yeah. Do you think society should be more open about discussing sexual assault?
100%. I know it's a very uncomfortable and unpleasant topic to talk about, but it happens every single day. It's nothing that can unfortunately be prevented because there are always going to be those monsters in the world who just like to prey upon people and their vulnerability. Um, I just wish it was more recognized across, how do I say this? I just wish it was easier to talk about. Um, like I remember being at like a dinner with people and they asked me about it and I could just feel the energy in the room go down and I'm like I wish that didn't have to happen when it was talked about. I completely understand why, but I just wish people were able to talk about the topic without backlash, without saying this is too intense of a topic to talk about. And I just wish people were able to be more comfortable talking about it and listening to it as well.
Mm, that's very true. I also very much agree. How do you think society should change to further prevent sexual assault?
Don't blame the victim. It is not their fault. Don't, because what always pissed me off about hearing people's stories about being sexually assaulted and raped, it was, well, she was wearing this, he was wearing that. That's getting into people's heads that they're like, if this person is wearing something revealing or shows a lot of skin, they're asking. People genuinely believe that if someone is at a bar and they're wearing a tank top or a crop top or short shorts or whatever that's showing skin, they're like, oh, they obviously want attention. No, because I can go to a bar and wear a crop top or a tank top because I fucking feel like it and it makes me feel good about myself. I'm not asking for anyone's attention. I just don't think that, just victim blaming in general pisses me off so much because that's also part of the reason why I didn't want to speak up about it, is because I was like I don't want people to think it was my fault. So,
Mm, I think that's a very good point to say we should never blame the victim first and foremost, but we should also be very conscious that how someone chooses to dress does not, give the go ahead for any type of activity,
mm-mm.
like at all. It has to be verbal consent. Um, I think that was also something that really I was really proud of Chapel Roan when she was like, "You guys are being creepy. Stop stalking me." Like, stop harassing me. Like, chaperone is my drag persona. Like, I'm a real person, because she does dress amazing. Like, a lot
Yes.
of her stuff is very provocative, right? It's beautiful the way that she chooses to express herself with her wardrobe, her attire, the costuming, extravagant. It's beautiful. Did you see that clip on the red carpet of someone harassing her and she like clapped back?
I watched it. I was watching the red carpet for the VMAs live. And I remember looking up and I was like, did I just hear that right? And I was like, who just yelled, shut the fuck up? And I like rewinded it. I was like, oh my God, it was Chapel. And then it started blowing up on Twitter. And I was like, if anybody gets mad at her for this, we're going to have a problem. And people did get mad at her. But then I was just like, she's protecting herself. I don't understand why people don't get that. It's just she's protecting herself, she's protecting her peace. And if she wants to speak back, she's going to speak back.
Mm-hmm. I feel like she's gonna be the catalyst for a lot more, you know, awareness around influencers, people in the entertainment business. And I think she's really gonna help a lot of people. I'm genuinely very proud of her. She's one of those people that deserves to be well known. She really
Hmm.
does. And I think her impact on the queer community alone is beautiful. It
Hmm.
truly is, especially the young queer people. I am so happy for her. I am so much. I'm just so happy for her. Um, her music has helped a lot of people, including myself, like take back, femininity and what it means to, you know, allow yourself to feel. I think something that really has been heavy on my heart these past few months, because I identify as like non-binary, is, for a long time I was very much suppressing any femininity at all. And with, the rise of like, it's kind of been like girly pop summer with Sabrina Carpenter and Chapel Roan and Olivia Rodrigo. It's like everybody's coming out with their bops. And it's really helped me like start to express that side of myself that I haven't for a while. And I've been keeping my hair pink this entire like summer, which is also like something that I hardly ever do. And I think it's also super important when we talk to men and boys about their sexuality that we leave judgment out of it.
Hmm.
Just come with an open mind, a curious mind to try and learn about who they are, how they wish to express themselves, and be okay with it. If you're not hurting anyone, then what is the problem? Genuinely, what is the problem? One of my close guy friends, who also he goes by they them as well. His name is Johnny Cole, and he was talking to me about how he's starting to express his femininity, and it's so beautiful. And I made him a choker for his birthday, which his birthday was a couple days ago, and I'm hoping it gets to him soon because shipping is just like not my friend. Apparently, got lost like twice, but it's coming. It just makes me really happy that he's like leading men's work programs to try and like work on what is the patriarchy, why do we even subscribe to the patriarchy, how can we um break down what it is to be a man and then build ourselves back up. How can we love each other? How can we hug each other, embrace each other? How can we listen? to each other. And he really gives me hope because I know he's influencing a lot of young men, including my fiance. And it's beautiful. What would be your message to young men, old men, men in general, about speaking out about their sexual abuse?
I know it's terrifying. It's probably one of the scariest things I've ever had to do, but I'm letting you know there is at least one person who's going to sit there with you, listen to your story, and be there for you and help you in any way that they can. At least one person. And that's all you need to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel loved. I was very lucky to have a very big support system, not only with my parents, but with my friends as well. Um, but if you are looking for a way out of what seems like a void of no one will believe me or no one's going to listen to me, yes, they will. There will always be someone, even if it's a complete stranger. Like you mentioned earlier, the hotline. Um, or if you feel like you can really trust someone in telling them about your story and that you may need help or you just want someone to know what happened, there will always be someone for you and you will be okay.
How do you feel right now?
I feel really good. Where I am in my life, I just got my dream job at a like high end salon. I have a great group of friends. Um, do I still live with my parents? Yes, but I don't have to pay rent. But I feel very, I feel really, really good at where I am in my life, and it's hasn't felt like that in a long time. I think since I moved to Texas, um, like moving from Connecticut to Texas in the middle of my junior year in high school, I was like, my life's over. I was like, I don't know what to do. But it took a while for me to not only feel okay with my inner self, like, but also like my physical appearance. I dealt with body dysmorphia for a very long time growing up as a dancer, but I've now come to a point in my life where like I admire myself in the mirror and I'm like, you look good, you feel good, you're okay. Yes, there are still a couple of those days where it's like, what the fuck is that? But it's come to a point where I love myself. And it's taken a long road to get there, but I'm finally there and I don't plan on going anywhere else.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Kyle, how can I support you going forward?
Just, I'm not sure. You can just reach out whenever you feel like it or like my Instagram post. I don't know. It's just as long as I feel seen, I feel like that's how you can support me. And it's just not even if we talk, it's just, I'm here and you're just there to support me no matter what.
Love that. And I do want to send you some mail. I make care packages for all of my guests,
Oh
including
my God.
crystal jewelry that I make myself. I call them bracelets. Um, yes, it's a vibe. I would like to send you some earrings and a bracelet, and then you'll also get a podcast sticker. You can put it on anything. I put it on my phone.
I'll definitely put it on my phone because my phone is bare ass naked right now.
Oh, I love that. Okay, that would be beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna send you some care packages, so please email me your mailing address so I can send you some goodies. Because I really, really do appreciate you sharing your story. I really do want to be your friend. Um, I I'm genuinely so proud of you. so proud of you. It takes a lot. And I know that your story has already helped so many people, but there's going to be people listening to this that feel connected to you and supported by you for even talking about what you have gone through. It's just I'm so happy that, you know, I am actively making a community of trauma-informed individuals who want to support other people or figure out what is trauma, how can we move from it, and how can we like build a community. So if you haven't already, please join the Discord because people will want to talk to you, and you can also talk and share and vibe and share memes. It's a good time. But thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. So fucking much for having me. I'm not gonna lie, I was very nervous at first to do it. Um, but as soon as I like clicked onto the Zoom, I was like, you know what? This is gonna be fun. And I've had the most amazing time talking to you. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to invite me on here and letting me share my story.
If you're watching us over on YouTube, here are our memes of the week, carefully curated by those amazing people, hello, over on our Discord server. Now let's get into those memes. At the end of every episode, we spin our wheel of emotions to learn a new feeling and how it correlates to trauma. Let's spin this wheel. It sounded, it landed. It landed on excited, energetic, eager. I think when we are finally getting through our trauma and on our healing journey, we tend to get more excited about certain things. When it pertains to sexual abuse, which I have been sexually abused, it took me a really long time to feel excited or energetic about sex because sex is inherently an energy exchange. It took a lot of trust, a lot of building of trust with future partners and my current fiance to feel safe having sex, but it is possible. And because of trust, because of communication, and because of openness and a willingness to be vulnerable, I was able to get through those barriers of that trauma. And also, yoga really helped as well. Breaking down those barriers really helped accelerate my desire to be sexually active again. And just because you experience sexual abuse doesn't mean that you will never have sex again. I know that was like a really big issue that I faced when I was in the pits of hell about it. But it does get better. Special thanks goes out to all of our Discord users. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. And if you'd like to support the show yourself, we have a Patreon. Different tiers can get you a bracelet. That's a handmade bracelet made by me, Grace, or you can get a sticker like the one on the back of my computer. All those links are in our description. Any support helps us out a lot. So if you feel compelled to, please like, comment, subscribe, and share the show with your friends. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate the show. That also really helps us out a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are capable of a fulfilling life in spite of your circumstances and your trauma. May you rise again from the ashes and be filled with peace, hope, love, joy, and understanding. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.